Welcome back to my channel. I'm Isabel Alvarez Arata. I'm the host of Covered in Pet Hair, a boozy show for pet lovers on Pet Life Radio and YouTube. I am here with some tips for all you who are ready to get out of the house and enjoy what we think might be the end of this past 2 years and the drama we've all experienced. I know the world is still a very hectic and a very scary place, but some of us are ready to at least enjoy trips nearby, maybe get back on an airplane for the first time in a long time. So I have some tips for you if you are planning on bringing your pets along. And when I say pets, I'm mostly talking about dogs and cats because that's what I specialize in. But these tips would also apply to small mammals and anything that doesn't qualify as an exotic. So any exotic birds or reptiles, that's on another channel. That's not here because I don't know anything about those and any regulations that come with those when it comes to travel. So back to what we're doing here today is we are talking about traveling with pets, and I have some tips for you on how you can make the best out of including your pet, providing them, that extra bit of enrichment by taking them with you, but making sure that all of their needs are met in the process. My first tip for you is to start with lodging. Choose a place, choose a location, start looking for lodging. Nowadays, there's hotels, motels, Airbnbs, other short-term rentals that are pet friendly. So start your search on Airbnb, on BBRO. You can go on Expedia and look for pet-friendly properties there. One of my favorite pet-friendly properties is Kimpton Hotels. They're all over the place. They're a boutique hotel chain. I actually used to work for that hotel chain ages ago as a sales manager, and I have always loved staying there with my pets because they really go out of their way to make pets welcome. They're not the only chain that does that. There are a lot of hotel properties now that are pet friendly. Some of them do have limits on size and limits on number and species and maybe even breed. You have to look into that, so make sure that you do your due diligence. But the biggest thing I want you to take away from the conversation about lodging, hotels, VBRO, Airbnbs, whatever it is that you choose, is please make sure you follow the pet policies. I know we don't always agree with the pet policies. Sometimes the pet fee is an astronomical amount and you're like, why am I paying that? And I always remember one of my general managers at the hotel at Kimpton actually saying that he believed that a pet can cause a lot less damage, most pets, than a toddler with a crayon can. And I can attest to that because last summer we went to an Airbnb in Taos, which was beautiful. And out of nowhere, my almost 4-year-old, who should have known better, grabbed a crayon and scribbled on one of these features of the house, like the wall, not quite the wall. It was like a really nice southwestern home, and it was a feature that they had. And guess who had to go running to a grocery store to find a magic eraser to clean it up? Thankfully, we were able to get it all out. It was all fine. But I agree with those people that say that kids can be just as damaging for properties as pets. But unfortunately, we have to follow the rules because, one, if you don't follow the rules, you might get kicked out of the property. 2, you also ruin it for the rest of us who are willing to pay the fees and willing to follow the policies. Don't sneak your pets in. Don't put your integrity on the line to save a couple bucks or $50 a night or whatever it might be. Pay the fee or find somewhere else that doesn't have a fee. Be fair to the host of the Airbnb. Be fair to the owners and the managers of the hotels. Please do right by everybody so that your pet will be welcome in the future. And also make sure that you leave the property however you found it, if not better. Make sure that if your pet cannot be trusted, you leave them at home. And if your pet can be trusted, but you're gonna be gone for a while, make some plans. We're gonna talk about that later on in this video. But just make sure that you are setting your pet up for success so that they do a good job at that property and your pet and other pets are welcome for years to come. So now you've chosen your place to stay, and now you're looking at flying with your pets. Obviously, when I say flying with your pets, I'm not talking about the pet going in cargo. That's a completely different video and a completely different conversation. I'm talking about a pet that's small enough to travel with you in the cabin, under the seat in front of you. First things first, call the airline before you book any tickets because airlines have a maximum number of pets that they can allow or welcome into the aircraft at one time. So maybe it's like 3 pets in all of the cabin that can be allowed in one flight. So you want to make sure that there's availability for the flight that you're looking at, and you want to make sure that you have information on the size requirements for the pet, the size requirements for the carrier that your pet is going to have to be in throughout the whole flight. You also want to find out if there are any breed restrictions for any animals. You need to talk to your veterinarian about ways that you can make sure that your pet is comfortable throughout the flight and throughout the process. If your flight is really long and your trip is very long, you need to make sure you know at every airport where the pet relief areas are. You need to do your due diligence in this so that your pet can have a nice flight. Make sure that you discuss sedatives with your veterinarian because they are not recommended for the most part, and you don't want to just like wing it, getting something and giving it to your pet before your flight. Do not take any chances. Make sure you set your pet up for success by talking about things with your veterinarian. Anything that is recommended, maybe an herbal relaxing supplement or something like that, make sure you give it to them prior, so you can make sure that it actually does what it said it's gonna do, and it's gonna help them, and it's not gonna cause any stomach upset because it's new, or any too sedative, like it might have too much of a sedative effect, and you don't want that either. Just because it's herbal doesn't mean that it's always safe and that it's always dosed properly. So make sure that you are looking into everything you do and giving it a test run prior to your flight. All right, next one. If you're taking your pet on a road trip, again, these things take planning. So even though your pet goes in your car for maybe an hour, maybe two nearby, if you're doing a much longer road trip, you're gonna have to make plans. You're gonna have to look up some tips to make sure that you have what you need in case there is an emergency, in case your car breaks down and it's really hot out. You wanna make sure you have a contingency plan in case anything goes wrong. You obviously need to travel with water, always with water in the car. Your pet needs to have proper ID tags. Heaven forbid they get lost at a rest stop. Your pet has to be vaccinated, and you need to have a rabies vaccination certificate at least, or the tag on your pet's collar, to make sure that if you are stopped by anybody anywhere, that your pet has what they need in order to safely and legally be there. I'm not talking about all vaccines. That's something that you should talk to your veterinarian about. I'm talking about rabies specifically because in every single state in the United States and most countries abroad, a rabies vaccination is non-negotiable. You need to have it, or you need to have a medical exemption from your veterinarian explaining why they can't have that vaccine, and you need to have some kind of information with you when you travel. I always keep my dog's rabies certificates in my glove compartment, and they get the 3-year vaccines, so every 3 years I just put a new set of copies in there. My veterinarian's really good. She always gives me 2 copies, one for my files at home and one for my car. Please make sure you always have some kind of rabies certificate. The last thing you want is an incident to happen and then you're somewhere in 3 states away, and now your pet has to be quarantined because they bit somebody at a rest stop or something, and you don't have any proof because your veterinarian's closed that your pet is vaccinated. Please make sure that these things don't happen and that you're not delayed and your pet's not separated from you for whatever reason. Another thing to consider when traveling by car is your pet is going to need some kind of restraint. I have the biggest pet peeve. Like, one of the things that I detest seeing is somebody driving with a dog in their lap. Heaven forbid a cat on their shoulder. I've seen birds actually in Miami on somebody's shoulder. It's a terrible idea to drive with your pet on your lap, on your shoulder, anywhere, just like in your car, because they could become a projectile in an accident. Literally go right through the windshield. If they're not heavy enough, they'll just hit it and it'll cause permanent damage. Please have your pet restrained. For smaller pets, the best place for them is a carrier. Even if they complain and even if they don't like it, acclimate them prior to your departure so that they can become more comfortable in their carrier. If the pet is big, I love the big hammocks that go in the second row of your car. You can put a hammock. It attaches to the headrest on the front and the back, so it's basically a hammock, and the pets are really contained in there. They're really comfortable in there because it feels like they're sitting directly on the seat, but it comes up high enough that if they're laying down, they wouldn't fly forward or up. They might just stay in that area, in that general area. There's also seat belts. There's some bucket seats with seat belts that are really cool. There are so many things on the market right now. Do your research, find something that your pet would like that will fit in your car. If you have other family members or friends traveling with you, obviously you need to consider how many seats you have, how much room you have. Traveling with a crate for a big dog is obviously the ideal, but it doesn't always fit in certain vehicles. So the hammock is a really good option for your bigger dogs, but make sure that your pet is restrained. I don't want to see you driving down the road with your pet on your lap. It's not safe. It's not safe for you. It's not safe for other drivers because it's a distraction, and it's not safe for your pet because, again, they can become a projectile in the middle of an accident. And on top of it, heaven forbid there is an accident and first responders have to approach your car when your pet is scared, stressed, in pain. They could become a threat to themselves and to others. So if they're contained, one, the chances of them getting injured are lowered, and two, the chances of first responders getting hurt or not being able to approach your vehicle to help you are reduced. So be sure you're thinking far enough ahead to plan what you need and how you're gonna train your pet to accept that space as a safe and happy place, with treats, of course. And make sure that you do that with ample time so that every time they see the carrier, they're like, yes, we're going somewhere. And yes, I'm getting hot dogs, or whatever it is your pet responds to. And then my final tip, please make sure you plan your itinerary if you're traveling with your pets and be realistic about what your pets can handle. I am a huge, pack it all in, see the whole city, explore from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. That's who I am when I travel. Most places, unless I'm going somewhere relaxing. But even then, I personally don't enjoy bringing my pets with me on some vacations because I want to just be on the beach the whole time, or going to get drinks in the afternoon, going from one place to another, meeting friends. So I don't always bring my pets with me if I know that my time's going to be spent mostly outside of my lodging, mostly away from my pets, and in the heat because I love, going to Miami or going to places with beaches. I'm not going to take my dogs to make them sweat somewhere all day with me. It's really important that you consider the climate, the temperatures. You're going to have to consider how many times you're going to go back to where your pet is staying. You have to consider if your pet is maybe even a small pet that's welcome in a lot of places. There are places where your pet is not going to be welcome. And I'm not talking about service animals. Service animals don't qualify as pets. So when I say pet, I mean a companion animal, whether it be your, schnoodle or your Yorkie or whatever. They might be small enough to get into some places, but there are going to be places that don't allow pets and don't allow, you to come in with your little purse dog. So make sure that you find out ahead of time if your pet is welcome, find out what you're going to do if your pet is not welcome, make sure that you leave them for relatively short periods of time in new places, because new places are scary for all of us on some level, especially for dogs that don't know what we're doing, cats that have never traveled before. You have to make sure that you're thinking about your pet in a way that sets them up for success when you leave them. So leave them with their favorite toy, leave them with a blanket or shirt that smells like you, leave them in a crate where they're safe, give them breaks, make sure they have access to fresh water, make sure that if you do take them with you, you have access to water for them too, bring their meals, plan their meals, don't make the trip all about you. If you're traveling with your pet, you need to include your pet in your plans. And if you can't do that, then you need to leave your pet at home. I hope that you have awesome travels and awesome adventures with your pets. I ask that you please make sure that you're always considering their needs as well as your own and making plans accordingly. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.